All right, everybody, it's time. It's time for me to give you my review of my experience with Path of Exile 2. In this, I'm going to go through more so at a higher level Path of Exile 2, my experiences as a new player, new to Path of Exile, never played Path of Exile 1, uh, going through Act 1, 2, and 3, Act 1, 2, and 3 Cruel, and into Endgame. So if this is the type of content you guys like, please like and subscribe down below. And we're going to get into my review of Path of Exile 2 post patch 0.2.0 Dawn of the Hunt. So a little bit of background. I'm longtime player of many different games over the years. But recently, I was looking for something along the lines of Diablo, but I'm not a Diablo fan anymore. So we decided and landed with Path of Exile 2. I had heard about the Dawn of the Hunt patch releasing, and that was what kind of brought me in. I just knew there was a big patch coming. I had never played Path of Exile 1, never played any of the other pre 020 patch of Path of Exile 2. Yeah, complete new player. So this review, I'm going to go through. This is from somebody who knows nothing about the world, nothing about the lore, nothing about the drama that landed with that patch. Um, so the patch released, and I think that I started playing 4 days after the patch released. I'm just guessing. Uh, and so with that, I decided to play a monk. So a monk is my first character. And as my first character, I am now a level 82. I'm in Endgame. But let's start at the beginning with my experience in Act 1. So over here in Act 1, uh, way back here, uh, all this kind of fun times here. Let me just actually go there while I'm talking about it. Okay, so in Act 1, when I first started, my experience was, dang, this game is hard compared to what I remember of Diablo. I also played Torchlight, a few other ARPGs. I just thought, boy, this is hard. I don't mind hard though, because it was kind of fun to experience, like, whoa, this world is ruthless. So then when I was, one of the main difficulties I had in Act 1 actually was getting past the first mini boss to get to this first town. And this boils down to, and we'll discuss it a little bit more later on, the rarity of loot drops. I just wasn't getting in the very first map, the riverbank. I wasn't getting any real armor or equipment to drop to protect me for that little mini boss to get into this first town. That's okay. It was rough. It took me a few fights to get past him because of that. Once I got to town, my experience then shifted to, okay, I had no gold. So I had no gold. Obviously, I got gold now. So when I'd come in here and I would want to talk to the vendors, oh, let me buy something since I couldn't find it. So I'd come into town, talk to Renly.
What would you like?
And while this seems dirt cheap, 588 gold, that was a stretch. As a brand new player to the game, I think I may have had like 50 gold at that point. 50. And everything on the vendor wants 400, 500. It's just like, okay. So I struggled to get into town, and now I couldn't even afford to buy anything to help my guy out because of the lack of gold. All right, so off I went into the first of the maps and died a few times because right inside this first map I met another mini boss, wiped me out a few times. So, but then I started getting some gear drops and was able to then, if I was slow and methodical and careful, I was then able to start going through some of these map areas. Again, that wasn't a bad thing. That was actually pretty good because that struggle right in the beginning really led to me feeling a sense of accomplishment when I was able to start gearing up and going through different maps. I was feeling stronger because of how weak I felt when I first started. Um, so some of the things to note as a new player, you've got these map nodes, and they weren't all there when you first start. And the thing that I didn't notice at first were all these little side pieces that relate to map nodes. These little skulls for bosses, treasure chests, and up here, tree of souls, the skulls. I didn't notice all of them at first. And so I think I was down around the hunting grounds when I realized I had missed a few of these things up here and went back to get them. Not bad, new player. I didn't know what to expect. So by the time I got to the end of Act 1, I was feeling decent. I was feeling I could handle myself. But the Act 1 boss was way too hard for me. Okay, keep in mind, I am a new player. I'm playing a monk. I don't have any Path of Exile 1 experience. So I don't know how all the skill gems work, the synergies, the different strikes to use as a monk, all these monk builds out there. I didn't go out and watch YouTube and do homework. So that first boss, I decimated me like 5 times in a row. So then I stopped for the night, watched a couple of videos about him, and that's when what really clued me in was one of the videos talked about, yeah, you want to gear up with all cold resistant gear. It's like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So my little critique there is going through this whole area of Act 1. I was fine. I didn't have to worry about my resistances. But then I get to the Act 1 boss, and all of a sudden I was just being decimated and couldn't, comparatively, I was holding my own going through these other maps. And all of a sudden, I couldn't do anything against that boss. And so then I had to go back to town, go back to the vendors.
What have we got?
And I had to buy up anything and everything I could with cold resistance because, again, I was still very low gold, very, very low gold. I didn't have exalts or anything like this. So all my gear was hobbled together. Again, that's not bad. The only my critique is just simply the Act 1 boss compared to the Act 1 maps. Having to completely switch to all cold resistant gear made him extremely difficult this first run. Like jarringly so. And again, that was my experience. Okay, so then we move on to Act 2. And so we move over here to Act 2. Now, Act 2, really loved the artwork and all that kind of stuff. I had a little bit better idea of it, going through things. And again, well, this is just a critique on the graphics of this map here. All these little extra side things, the skulls and all this, and then you have this one here that looks like it's something, but then it's not, but then it is. I think these need more clarity on the map. Visually, they need something more because it was just hard to understand. Did I miss something? I kept going through the Valley of the Titans and the Titan Grotto looking for an exit to a new area to get to this thing. And yeah, there wasn't one. That was just representing of the map. Okay. Going through this whole area, I enjoyed it. Once I got past the Act 1 boss, this area here, uh, pretty systematic. Just going through the maps, enjoying it as we're going through. Um, Nothing really jumps out at me as like, oh man, that just uh, was bad part of the campaign. Um, Not at all. Only thing that jumped out as a difficult part of this campaign is when you get to the Trials of Chaos and the Trials of Sekima. To be honest, Trials of Chaos was easy. Trials of Sekima, way too confusing for a new player. I go into it, I had no idea how many maps or rooms I was going through. I know the text said some stuff about it, but I struggled with understanding the Trials of Sekima and what I was even trying to accomplish. Why am I picking the different rooms that I'm picking? So that was a little bit confusing. So I would just say for that area, uh, a little bit more guidance or maybe a tutorial for new players in the Trials of Sekima. The end of Act 2 boss really wasn't that difficult. By the time I got to him, I was feeling um pretty strong. Now, pretty strong for me. I was still weak compared to a lot of people. But got through the end game boss here on Act 2, not too much of a problem. Got into Act 3. Oh, that's right. Act 3. This is through the time portal here, but got into Act 3 and going through all this. The Waterways map, everyone complains about it. I kind of agree. It's strange to have to go through compared to all the other maps. That was a weird mechanic. I think what I didn't care for on that particular map was it was obvious you could only one. It wasn't a maze. You simply were being forced to serpentine through the waterways. To me, it felt very predictable of where next, and it just slowed it down. If there was a better mechanic of like having to go through the waterways, turn some on, turn some off to access a different point to turn a different one on, and then go back and reset the ones that you had turned on to get to, that would have been better, more like a puzzle map. I didn't mind overall. Went through most of Act 3 without too much of a hitch. And then I got into Act 1. I killed the end boss of Act 3 and got into Act 1 Cruel. Now, Act 1 Cruel, obviously they just ramp up the bosses. And difficulty-wise, I was feeling good. I felt, hey, this is all working out. The critique I have going for the vendors, where's a vendor?
Speak up.
Oh, not that one. This guy. No. Forgot which guy. Well, couldn't see him. Oop.
Young one.
Okay. Anyway, the critique I have on the vendors is almost all of the vendor loot was not worth buying. I had finally got some money, as in gold, built up so I could afford some things, but I had already looted something that was a little bit better than what the store was selling. I had looted it and then enchanted it with whatever orbs I had collected at the time, so it was better than anything here on the market. And so what, for the rest of Act, basically Act 3, Act 1 Cruel, Act 2 Cruel, and Act 3 cruel, the vendor loot stopped going up in damage level, even though the monsters are going up. I needed higher damage items, and they had just kind of
I hear
stopped
My
going up in
wares
level.
are
So like here,
renowned.
you know, I'm in Act 3 Cruel, and this right now is Act 2. I'll jump over to the Cruel mode here in a second. You can see a quarterstaff damages on the market are, 31 to 64. And so when we go over here to, okay, now we go to uh Act 3 Cruel. So now this is, 4 acts later. Okay, where's the vendor? I want. Where's the little town? That's supposed to be. Let's go here. I just need to see the vendor. Okay, so we come over here. Is this the same guy? No.
Seen more. Here is the equipment I have salvaged.
And they don't even have a quarterstaff. Wondrous. Oh, wait, here we go. So here you go with the quarterstaff, and yes, it seems like it's gone up quite a bit. We're now at 61 to 141. But realistically, by the end of Act 3 Cruel, I needed a quarterstaff doing 200 plus damage. And they don't sell anything close to it to even start with. I don't have the exalts and all that to go on the market and trade. So the vendors felt kind of useless to me. I could never find something that really wowed me. That, that I got to save up and get. By the time I saved up, I had moved so many maps ahead. The one I wanted to get was no longer going to work out. I needed something even better than that. And it constantly felt like that throughout the game. So going through Act 1, 2, and 3, and then Cruel Act 1, 2, and 3, I know the game is early access. So early access, I don't mind that Act 1, 2, and 3 Cruel really is just more difficult monsters. It didn't seem like the vendors items that they're selling didn't really scale well for a true Act 4, 5, and 6. So we'll just give them a pass there. But as a new player, just expect that kind of a problem. Now, if you can trade and stuff on the market, that's the next thing that, as a new player, you're going to have almost no idea how to do that in this game. And so I would just caution that you can't expect players, even in the trade league, to know how to do it, or as a new player, they're not going to have the currency to do it, because one exalt was a lot. By the time I finished Act 3 Cruel, I did not have a big stack of exalts. I had used the ones I needed throughout to enchant my gear because the vendors didn't sell enough. And so I was like sitting maybe on 3 exalts, which is not enough to trade for really most anything I needed on the market. Even bear in mind, the market was something a lot of people might not know how to get to. So those big areas are what I was experiencing as a downside going throughout Path of Exile 2 and then into Endgame. I'll make a separate video about Endgame and the complexities there and what I'm currently finding lacking, because I do know they have an Endgame patch coming up soon. The upsides, the fact that it was difficult in Act 1, I actually liked it. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, it was hard. I After the fact, I chalk it up to a lot of the problems I was having were because it's a new game, such as the skills and the support gems. Having never played Path of Exile 1, it was my fault for not sitting here and actually reading what these gems do closer. I was just chucking them in there, picking some at random, and that meant my quote unquote monk build was uber weak. And that's on me. That has nothing to do with the game, because once you align them correctly for a type of build, or you understand what you're aligning in here, all of a sudden what you thought was super weak, you would have been a lot stronger. So that's not the game's fault, that was my fault. So again, on the positive side, Act 1 was hard. A lot of that hardness going from Act 1 into Act 2 was learning the game, learning the skills, understanding how everything synergizes together. But that was nice. It brought the game together. It made it feel um, like it had depth just going through a campaign. So I enjoyed that. Let's see. Then another benefit is when I did get to the Act 1 and 2 Cruel, by this time I started to understand all those things, and my character finally started to feel like I was getting strong. Because I was so weak in Act 1, by the time I got to Act 2 Cruel, I really felt like I was getting strong. Again, compared to an Endgame strong, no. But progression through the campaign, I was feeling strong. I felt I was right where I should be for getting through the end of the campaign. And overall, I would say Path of Exile 2 is a really fun game. The campaign, I felt was, great. Some individual maps here and there maybe could use some tweaking. Now let's cover what's changed with some of the patches. When I started with 020, the big loot change was not there, and so that didn't come in until I was in the Act 2 Cruel, I think. And so now that they have done patch G and patch H, those have greatly changed how much loot is dropping. So if I were to be a new player starting today, I think it would feel even more smooth going through Act 1 through up to Endgame. More smooth meaning I wouldn't feel as starved for loot. I would have felt I at least had some options. Where when I went through it, I felt like I had no options. I had to do anything and everything I could get my greedy little hands on to try to survive. But again, I enjoyed the game for that. And so then we get into Endgame, and Endgame, completely different beast. Personally, I think the word Endgame is wrong for Path of Exile 2. It is not Endgame when there is so many other avenues and a whole new skill tree comes in. If you got a whole new skill tree, that tells me it's not the end of the game. So I think there's some. I don't think it should be called Endgame, but that's me. Endgame should be like level 100. You're at Endgame. So that's my kind of overall feeling of the game. I really enjoyed this, and I know there's another big patch coming out, 021, and that patch is coming out probably in another week and a half. So I just wanted to kind of give this review, and I'm going to save kind of a layman's review or a new player's review of the end game experience I found as a completely new player once that patch releases, and I can see a little bit about that. So again, if you like this type of content, like, subscribe, leave me a comment below in the notes. I would love to hear from you guys. Do you think I missed something? Do you have any other criticisms that maybe you have that I don't? I would appreciate hearing them. Overall, I think the biggest detriment, if I had to boil it down to one thing, going through Act 1 to Endgame that was a downer. It was, I was loot starved. But they fixed that with patch G and patch H. So my one downside disappears. So, yeah, 2 thumbs up, man. 2 thumbs up. Till next time, again, like, subscribe, let me know what you think. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.